You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning. Welcome to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butenoff coming to you live from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Don't forget, we are in the midst of our statewide Text to Win Scotty Summer Contest. Coming up after 11 o'clock, you will hear Greg and I with a keyword.
Dan, you can't play.
No, Dan, you can't play.
I'm going to try. One of these weeks, I'm going to try.
You can give it a shot. You'll probably get tossed. But we will give you a keyword after 11 o'clock. You want to text that in via the Civic Media app. You are in the running for either $100 in cash or a pair of Milwaukee Brewers Club level tickets. And you are in the running for grand prize, which includes a little summer getaway and gas to get you there.
Gas to get you there.
Gas to get you there. So be listening after 11 o'clock for that keyword. You do have to use the Civic Media app. It is our statewide Text to Win Scotty Summer Contest playing in the 7, 11, 2, and 4 p.m. hours. Right now, because it's Friday, he joins us every Friday at this time. Civic Media's political editor and the creator of the multi-award-winning Recombobulation Area, Dan Schaefer, is here. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Greg. Doing well. Always wonderful to join you here on Matt Nair on Air.
Glad to have you with us. Let's start with the state budget. And we just can't agree on anything.
Yeah. Divided government.
Isn't that great?
This is the fourth trip around that we've had with crafting a budget in Tony Evers' time as governor in this era of divided government. And it doesn't seem like things have gotten any better throughout that time with Republicans who have constantly obstructed the governor at every turn over and over again. And here again, we have, going into this, I wondered if we would have a little bit of a different process given the smaller margins
right.
in the Republican majorities in the Senate and in the Assembly. But it just doesn't seem like the Republicans ever want to budge because they have their one economic policy button that they want to push every time, which is a tax cut.
Yep.
And they don't seem to want to meet the governor, in a reasonable middle ground to fund, particularly as the governor outlined in his press release on Wednesday evening, K-12 education, childcare, and the UW system.
Well, so we've talked about this on the show with you and with other people that this has been a slow road for the Republicans as far as like slowly having different ways chipping away at their power. Tony Evers coming in, fair maps, more Democrats winning seats in the Senate and the Assembly. And at every turn, instead of looking at them and saying, hey, might have to even hold our nose, but some of these things we're going to have to compromise on, let's do it. Instead, they are holding on to their power however they can. And in ways that seem real petulant and childlike too, whether it's changing committee assignments or lowering numbers of Democrats and doing things like this. And one of the things, Dan, is that people are saying, I hate saying that, but it's kind of the rumor from Republicans is that they can't get with Tony Evers. They can't have a conversation. He's not sitting down with them. And part of me thinks, one, I don't know if that's true, because I just don't. I feel like Tony Evers, when it comes to the budget, and especially in such a education-heavy budget that he wants to pass, he's going to want to have those sit-downs. But also, if you're Tony Evers and you present a budget and they strip out 612 items and their Joint Finance Committee tour is a joke, why is he incentivized to have any sort of discussion with them at all?
Well, because they're still in the majority.
Fair. I mean,
they're still in the majority in the Senate and the Assembly, and I think the Senate in particular is the one to watch here. I think Vos typically gets his caucus in line in the Assembly. I think LeMahieu has been a little bit less adept at that in the Senate, and I think there's been like the super hardliners. Like there's Steve Nass from Whitewater area, I believe. He's already said let's not even pass a budget if this is what we're going to do.
Oh, let's just not do it.
So there's one Republican vote that they're going to lose on that. If they lose a couple more, like these margins are going to matter. And I think with the Senate, that there's only half of the Senate has been on the ballot under new maps. So there are 3 state senators who have not been on the ballot under new maps that are in districts won by Kamala Harris. So you would think that Howard Marklein, being one of those, the co-chair of the Joint Finance Committee, and a couple of the others, Rob Hutton in western Milwaukee area suburbs, and Van Wangard in Racine County and southern Milwaukee County.
Yeah.
You think maybe some of these vulnerable senators might say, hey, we need to actually pass a deal here, or else we're going to lose our majority in 2 years. So, I think as dug in as Republicans are on this and have been on budget items so often over the years, like they're going to have to budge on this or they're going to lose the majority. Those are the stakes right now for them.
I would love to believe that, but after seeing the results of the 4 joint finance committee meetings that they held around the state for hours and hours and hours, and the top 3 things that constituents brought up to them, again, were child care and health care and education, and they ignored all of it. So I hear what you're saying about what the numbers imply, but they seem so dug. It's like, we don't care. We don't care what the people want. We don't care what the constituents want. We know what we want, and we're going to do that regardless.
And I don't know about Marklein and the other gentleman you just mentioned from Western Milwaukee, but Van Wangard ain't doing anything he'll do whatever he's told to do. That's just, he is, the fact that he has lasted in that seat for as long as he has, and you tell him where to go, he goes. That's it.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot to say on State Senator Wangard.
I do, but I will reserve that for another time. But it goes to the point, Dan, of what you were just saying is, they're not thinking strategically on this matter. I mean, they could have the next election and they could retain the Senate, but they better work for that. Those guys better knock on some doors and make some phone calls, because it's not going to be the same. And those areas that you're talking about, Dan, they have slowly gone more blue over time. And if you get a charismatic character in there to run against them, it might not go the way they like.
Don't you feel, though? I feel like they're so insulated, and they don't hear criticisms. They're not hearing criticisms. They're not hearing. I just think they are so in their own bubble. They don't feel like they have to do any compromises at all.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I think they've been, drunk on gerrymandering
for a long
so
time.
Many years that they haven't had to really, work things out and compromise in any way. And so I wonder too, if we reach a point in this budget process, and we're already late, this is already moving more slowly than it does in typical years. And so if the Republicans are going to go off and say, okay, we're not going to strike a deal, we're going to pass our own budget, should Tony Evers say, hey, I'm going to veto the whole thing this time if you guys don't include, let's say, Medicaid expansion?
Yeah.
If you guys don't include funding for childcare, if you guys don't include anything for K-12, I'm vetoing your entire tax cut or whatever other priorities you want to do. I think Evers has an opportunity to be a little bit more hardline with this. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, and Tony Evers did kind of give a little bit on tax cuts, is my understanding, the last time they talked about this, and then the Republicans rejected it anyway.
Yeah, because I think Evers wanted them to step up on K-12, on childcare, on higher education, and they didn't meet what he was looking for. Like, Evers was clearly ready to come to the table. From what, in that press release, there was no mention of, Medicaid expansion or other healthcare items, or the postpartum Medicaid expansion that I know you guys have talked about a lot on this show and elsewhere. I don't think that was in the deal as outlined by Evers in that press release either. And then I saw a clip, up front on WISN, they put out the clips before the Sunday show. They have a clip of Robin Vos saying that Tony Evers was lying in that press release. And they had a clip of Robin Vos saying that it wasn't zero. It wasn't zero that we came to the table with on K-12 childcare and higher education. Well, clearly you didn't do enough. If the governor's ready to come there and basically pass your tax cut, How do you do nothing? We have a $4 billion surplus. The money is there.
Yeah.
The deal is there.
Well, when it comes to Robin Vos, this is the same man who was touting. They did the biggest education investment in a generation. Yeah, because you've been suffocating it for a generation. So really, anything better than nothing is a win for him. But also going back to your original question about whether or not Tony Evers should just veto the entire thing. Honestly, whether he decides to run or he decides not to run, I think it's a win for him to do that because he comes out looking strong and for the people of Wisconsin. But the most important thing to it is if he decides to veto that whole thing, he has got to get on every talk show after that and talk about this, touting the win and explaining why he did it. Because that's the one thing he has not done well. He has not touted victories. He has not gone on there and done what politicians need to do, which is, say, hey, I did this for you, John Q. Public. So I think he looks strong either way as a way of saying, I'm going to run again. And this is why, because of this kind of budget activity, I think I can help. And if he's not going to run again, it's like, I'm out, peace, and we're going to do this the right way. But either way, he's got to have a messaging plan to go along with it.
Well, and I don't know that you know this offhand, Dan. And by the way, Dan Schaefer is our guest, Civic Media's political editor and the creator of the Recombobulation Area. He joins us every Friday. I don't know if you know this offhand, but if you wanted a little indicator of the pettiness of the Republicans, how many of Governor Evers' board appointees are they still sitting on? Aren't there over 100? There's still over 100.
I don't even know at this point because it was such a big story, and I just don't remember if the Senate actually ever came to the table. But it was like at one point, I think it was almost 200 at one point. So
some crazy amount of the governor is within his rights to place these people. These are his appointees on these boards, and the Republicans won't even give him that. So if you don't think they're petty, just look at that. I think that's a pretty good petty indicator.
Oh, they're extraordinarily petty.
Right?
They're Tom Petty. Right?
They out petty Tom Petty.
According to this cursory search, as of January 2023, 180 appointees remain unconfirmed by the Senate. This includes 5 cabinet members serving as secretary designees.
Yeah, and the Republicans have essentially said, we're not even going to give these people hearings.
Yeah.
It's absurd. It's just absurd.
But it's totally on brand, Jane. I mean, this is just a carbon copy of what the U.S. Senate did to Barack Obama when there was a Supreme Court justice to be filled.
Right.
They're like, no, it's too that election's 9 months away. We're too close. So it's this is the same old garbage in, garbage out with them. And frankly, you're right, Dan. It is important for him to sit down with them because they are the majority. But also I understand why Tony Evers might just be like, I'm not talking to you guys. Talk to him. I have nothing to say.
Well, and the other thing that made me laugh was when that article came out about how we can't come to an agreement, the Republicans were saying, we were having really friendly conversations up until this point. Were you really? Yeah. Really? Was it that friendly?
They were characterizing them as good faith negotiations.
Yes, that's
right?
what it was.
That was the phrase that they were using. I did notice I did think it was kind of interesting, and I don't know if this is like a little bit inside baseball-y, but I thought it was interesting that Evers put out his statement, kind of summing up his whole position there, and then there was a statement from Assembly Democrats, there was a statement from Senate Democrats, and then there was a statement from the Joint Finance Committee co-chairs. So it does seem like there is some sort of breakdown to a certain extent within the Republican side of things. I don't know if like Assembly and Senate and wherever else are all on the same page with what their priorities are in the budget, with what they want out of a negotiation with Evers. I do think it was kind of interesting that it wasn't like a cohesive statement there.
We're going to continue our conversation with Dan Schaefer on the other side. Fight, 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 fight. You're listening to Matt Nair on Air on the Civic Media.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Good morning and welcome back to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the Board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We're joined by Dan Schaefer, Civic Media's political editor and also creator of the multi-award-winning recombobulation area. We haven't talked about this yet this morning, Dan. We were saving it for you. But if you were, I don't know, anywhere on the internet yesterday, you might have heard about this little spat between formerly two best buddies. They were the president and the co-president, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, not so buddy-buddy anymore.
What a day to be terminally online, right? Like that was, oh my goodness, just the back and forth between Elon Musk and Donald Trump on Twitter yesterday, escalating into Epstein accusations and all sorts of other stuff. You know, at a certain point, you just got to sit back and pop the popcorn and watch the craziness unfold. But so I did enjoy that quite a bit. Not gonna lie.
When you think about it too, like in a day where the president was sitting down with the world leaders of France, Germany, and England, and France and England were like criticizing and making fun of him to his face in a way that Trump didn't really understand, and then he makes that horrible statement to the Chancellor of Germany about D-Day while laughing. That would have been yesterday like the end-all be-all. It got buried by this Twitter fight. I'm sorry, Truth Social socialing all over the truthiness. But yes, I mean, I saw that come through, and I had to make sure. I had to go to Elon's Twitter account because I wanted to make sure it was real. And then I immediately screenshot it and sent it to Jane, and I was like, what is going on right now?
It was crazy. It just exploded yesterday. Now, Elon Musk, of course, coming out and saying the budget is going to increase the deficit, which the CBO has said, and numerous other organizations have said that, yes, this is going to explode the deficit.
Yeah.
And, now we don't know where we are.
Yeah.
Now we don't know where we are. As of today, President Trump says he has no plans to talk to Elon. Elon, I'm seeing on other places reporting that he's realizing the error of his ways. But one person I knew we could count on, him to capitulate is Wisconsin Senior Senator Ron Johnson, who, of course, said nothing short of trillions of dollars of more spending cuts in this budget bill. Not going to vote for it. Rojo, super strong on this. Oops, here we go. He had a private conversation with the president and a White House meeting, and now Ron Johnson capitulating. Quote, one thing I came away from the White House meeting is, I know I've been out there not sounding the most positive about things. The truth is there are a lot of positive things in this bill. I absolutely support whatever we pass. I want it to succeed. We left shaking hands and smiling at each other. Mr. President, I want to be more positive, and I'll try to be more positive, unquote, said Wisconsin Senior Senator Ron Johnson.
Now, I have a question for you, Dan, because, as you said, we're terminally online. We're addicted to the news. And anybody who slights the president gets attention, whether it's on Twitter, Truth Social, or wherever. Ron Johnson has been critiquing this bill for a few weeks now, a while. And it's really, he's kind of stayed away from the ire of not only Trump, but like the Trump loyal. No one's been calling for his head or impeach him, recall him. He's really kind of flown under the radar while completely criticizing this bill that's in the Senate right now. Do you have any theories on why this is happening?
You know, I think we have to look back to the last time that Ron Johnson was in a similar situation in the 2017 negotiations over the Trump tax cut bill. He pushed for this additional tax cut for certain types of businesses, perhaps not coincidentally, the businesses that have the U-lines that have his biggest political donors.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there is always some sort of end game with Johnson. So I do think that's what we should be looking at. But he, over and over again, he has talked about, wanting to that this wants to make certain he's kind of like the opposite of what our criticisms of the bill are, right? We say that this bill is wrong to cut Medicaid, wrong to do all those things. He thinks it doesn't cut enough.
Yeah.
And I think he has really probably been more in agreement with Elon, although it does seem like he got a little bit of a talking to from the principal yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Got sent
Sit
to the
down.
office.
Do you think he was just sitting in his chair outside the Oval going, oh, man, I know why I'm in trouble.
Lori from Shawano is on the line. Lori, we got about 90 seconds left. What did you want to say? And by the way, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Yeah, that whole spat between the lovers, this dog fight between the two pit bulls. Elon Musk said that it was going to be painful 2 years, and now he's feeling the pain. Tesla went down over 14%.
Oh.
But now today it's back up.
Yeah.
So how does that happen? How does it come back up so fast when he's alienated all of his customer base? It's like with the jobs report. Last month there was like 87 jobs projected, and then the next day, it's 150. So I heard that unemployment was up, but now they're saying 139 jobs, more than what they thought was added. Where are these numbers coming from? Are they just coming out of Taco's butt?
That's a really good question, Lori. We will look into that.
Well, we won't look into it.
Well, not into
but yeah.
that necessarily, but we will. We'll see what we can find out. Thank you so much, Lori. Really appreciate it. We got news coming up next. We're going to continue with Dan Schaefer on the other side. Stay close. You are listening to Matt Nair on air on the vast, statewide, countrywide. You can listen in New Zealand if you have the app. The Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning and welcome to Matt Nair on air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, our resident young person, Calvin on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we will wrap up the show as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Shrinky Dink edition. I just like saying that, Shrinky Dink. Shrinky Dink edition coming up.
What is it again, Jane?
Shrinky Dink edition.
There it is.
Of Tisbet. Coming up around 10:52 or so. Also, Maggie Dawn later on today from 4 to 6 p.m. She's going to be talking with our very own Civic Media's Greg Gunderson. What's good, local, and overlooked, where they highlight things that might be going on in your neighborhood. And then also at 5:30 today, I love this segment, Ask Maggie, where you can ask her anything.
Yeah.
And she will answer you, whether you want to hear it or not.
There it is.
That's what we love about Maggie. So ask Maggie today at 5:30. Maggie Dawn from 4 to 6 p.m. Right now, Dan Schaefer
There may or may not be an appearance from yours truly on the Maggie Dawn show.
Are you going to be on this afternoon?
As well, so stay tuned. Yes.
Check that out. What time are you going to be on the show?
I believe I'm on at 5 o'clock.
All right. Join Maggie Dawn,
Right in,
4 to
drive
6, across the Civic Media Radio Network. Right now, this is a segment that we like to call Audio Sorbet, where we lighten things up a little bit, take a break away from politics. Although everything can be political these days, I guess. But the wakeboarding controversy. I'm not sure, Dan, if you were aware of this, but there have been a whole bunch of letters to the editor in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel about wakeboarding. Now, I don't live on.
Tell me more about this.
Okay,
one.
so I don't live on a lake. I don't know anyone who has this issue. But so here's the debate about wakeboarding. Wake enhanced boating uses ballast tanks to create great big waves for surfing and tubing. But this has raised concerns about shoreline erosion, damage to lake beds, and invasive species. So the question that the Journal-Sentinel posed was, should wake-enhanced boats be regulated differently than other powerboat activities like skiing? So apparently, again, and correct me if I'm wrong, 855-752-4842, these wake boats drive a little more slowly, create these big waves so you can surf over them and stuff. But the issue is the erosion along the lakeshore as these waves come slapping up against the land.
And it's not like the speed of the boat, right?
It's not
generating like larger
wakes. So again, that's making bigger waves, and this is causing problems with erosion on some of our lakes. So lots of it's interesting how hot people get about stuff like this. I was surprised.
Oh, I mean, well, one, people are going to get upset about anything nowadays. You say anything like, I like mayonnaise with my fries. How dare you? You are an American, sir. It's catsup or nothing. But I think when you start to delve into one of the great aspects of Wisconsin, which is summer times at the cabin, at the lake, and you start to mess with that aspect of their being, I'm not surprised at all that people are going to lose their fluffin' minds.
Here are some of the comments from some of the letters to the editor talking about wakeboarding, and we would love to hear from you at 855-752-4842. Should wake boats be regulated differently? And is this an issue where you are? This one letter, Tim from Rhinelander says, I'm a lake resident in northern Wisconsin. Crescent Lake, our lake, is too small and shallow for wake surfing. Our shoreline is suffering damage as 2 to 4 foot waves crash our shore from a neighbor's wake boat. Another one, Gunnar from St. Germain says, I've been around all types of boats my whole life. I have come to find everyone feels like they are the one the lake is for.
What does that mean?
Everybody who has their own type of boating or their own type of activity.
Yeah.
That's what the lake is.
King of the lake.
They're the king of the lake. My activity should trump all other activities on said lake.
Well, and I think that those who are pro wake machines, I guess, whatever you call them, wake boats, are going to think, and they're going to say, don't worry about it. Stop it. We're just having a good time. Why do you guys have to ruin, that sort of mentality, which is very king-like mentality of, I don't have to worry about what you think. I like what I like, and what I like is great. So get off my back. Freedom.
And there's some of those letters in there, not said in so beautifully and concisely as you might have
good words.
Have said it. But
thank you.
Yes, there are some of those. Great Gary from Winchester. I live on a chain where the town and the residents voted to ban wake surfing on the lakes. Erosion isn't the biggest issue. The safety of other lake users and bottom scouring as a result is an issue, and the ballast tanks are potential transporters of invasive species from lake to lake. So again, if you get zebra mussels or something on, if you go in one lake and then you go into another lake and they're concerned that that's going to transfer and then get into that ecosystem and cause problems.
Dan, when you take your boat out,
I feel like I got to try this out to just see how fun it is, because then who cares about the zebra mussels, right? If it's really a lot of fun,
you can just write that off.
Yes.
There are some serious...
I just want to see if it's fun. Then it's maybe worth it. I need to make some boat friends this summer.
Yes.
Really.
Everyone needs a boat friend.
This time of year, I'm like looking at, making my summer plans. Kids are finishing up with schools. I never really make it a priority, but I really need to make it a priority to make more boat friends this summer.
I think that's a good goal.
So if you have a boat, you can invite me out, and I'll come check out the wake boating.
2 words, 3 syllables. Pat Kreitlow.
Oh, there we go.
Now it's a pontoon boat, but
pontoon works.
That is the only piece of. And I want to say, because I love that they have it, but like, as far as a spending, like, I would never buy a motorcycle. I would never buy a sports car. I don't think I would buy an RV. But if I had the money, I would buy a pontoon boat. That is, a floating living room. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Nice and relaxing.
Yes.
Nice and relaxing.
I love a pontoon boat.
Yeah.
Talking about the wake boat controversy in Wisconsin, if you'd like to chime in on this, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter, Milwaukee Journal, Sentinel, asking folks about this issue and some really hot letters coming in. Lori writes in, my family enjoys this type of boating better than tubing or water skiing. It's a slower way to boat and have fun surfing the wake. It's better than water skiing and tubing. It's not as loud, and the boats are going slower, so they're safer for the person behind the boat. One thing, though, Lori is from Illinois, so I almost think that we have to throw that one out.
Rejected.
Right?
Asterisk. Asterisk on all comments. No, yeah.
Mike from Green Bay, listening on WGBW, texted in, as a general rule, wake boats are really bad for small lakes. They do a ton of damage to the shoreline, as well as docked boats and equipment. They also do harm in some cases, even kill wildlife, especially shore nesting birds. Now, what's interesting about Lori's letter is she's talking about all the fun and memories. Now, I would love to see someone say to Lori, but here are the ecological impacts of it all. What do you think? And I think, Dan, to your point, what you're saying is it's that thing of like, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's fun. Like, you know, weird comparison. All my friends who are like, I think guns are terrible. You take them to a gun range once, they're like, that was amazing.
It was so much
Let's
fun.
go back again.
It is interesting, though, and we will include this in our show notes if you want to read these letters to
Yeah.
the Milwaukee Journal
Yeah.
about, and a lot of the ones who are pro are like, yeah, it's just really fun. Why can't I do what's fun? Sue from Crivet says,
Freedom, baby.
Yeah, I live on the largest lake in Merrimack County. Many of our residents have had to put large rocks on their shoreline. The lake clarity declines much more quickly when the wake boats get in the water. Our lake is widely used by people who do not live there.
Yeah.
So we are highly susceptible to invasive species. Another guy, Bruce, on Turtle Lake, we've lost 3 feet of shoreline because of wake boats.
And that right there is dangerous for homes that are on the shoreline.
Absolutely.
Eventually, like that shoreline is going to erode to the point where your house can just dump into the lake. And that is a fact. I learned that in a class in college because I learned things. And I just, maybe not. Okay. If the lake is of a certain size, it just makes sense to ban these boats or ban the activity itself. If you're in a huge lake, maybe there's something that can be done, or you can go to a different lake that allows it and it's less invasive. But yeah, if you're going to a small lake, why would you go in there and purposely try to cause harm to the environment?
Well, but I don't think they're not looking at it like we're causing harm to the environment. They're looking like Lawrence on Lake Beulah, who says, wake-enhanced boating has provided us hours of entertainment and enjoyment for me and my family.
But she's also writing that letter after knowing now that it does. She's responding to the question, essentially. So she knows that there is an ecological impact.
But my boat doesn't do that.
My boat's special.
Exactly.
It's from Illinois.
My boat doesn't cause environmental damage. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Are you saying there's trade-offs to having fun sometimes, occasionally? I'm learning this for the first time.
Yes.
It's very anti-American, I want to say. It's to say, like, hey, do I have to give up something of mine so other things can thrive? Whoa, what?
There was a May 28th closed-door meeting held by Mary Felskowski, president of the Senate, and also the representative of a district with lots of lakes and lots of constituents worried about this wake-enhanced boating. That meeting included Felskowski, Representatives Tyler August, Rob Swearingen, Robin Voss, Senators Cindy Dukow, Rachel Cabrera Guevara, and also lobbyists for the boating industry.
Of course.
And Lakes at Stake, Wisconsin. So Felskowski says the meeting brought together stakeholders from all sides of the wake boat issue.
I still want to try it out at the appropriate lake where it's not going to be, damaging to any beaches or shorelines or clarity of the water or anything. I want to try it out. I'll probably tear my ACL or something like that, but I want to try it out.
And this whole segment is just to be named Dan Wants to Go on a Boat.
Let's
I
have
do want to go on a boat.
Let's make boat friends.
That's actually
That's the segment. Let's make boat friends.
yeah.
You got your podcast headline there, Greg.
There you go.
Current state law does allow motorboats, including wake boats, to at least 100 feet from shore. It also allows local units of government to pass more restrictive boating rules. So I don't know, wake boat fans. I think there might be some regulations coming your way. I know, it's just freedom.
Yeah,
But that's the way it goes.
it's true.
Well, we live in a civilized society.
That's how the boat floats? I don't know. That's not something.
That's how the wakeboards jump. I don't. I don't wakeboard either. Okay.
Neither do I.
My typical boating activity is sitting on a pontoon boat drinking too many New Glarus Moonmans. So that's also a good time.
We can do that.
We're just okay. After the show, we're all getting in my car. I'm driving up to Lake Wissota, and we're going to just say, Pat, put the boat in the lake.
We're gonna commandeer the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna commandeer the pontoon.
This is a science experiment. We're here to find things out. Dan needs to do boating, and he told us you're the closest one that we know.
For journalism.
For journalism, exactly.
Milwaukee Press Club, are you listening?
Exactly. Dan Schaefer is Civic Media's political editor and the creator of the multi-awarding Recombobulation Area. Subscribe. It's absolutely worth it. Thank you so much, my friend. We will see you later.
Thank you. Be well.
Stay with us. We're going to wrap up the show with This Shouldn't Be a Thing, Shrinky Dink Edition. You're listening to Matt Nair on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Welcome back to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Before the break, we were talking about the wake boating issue in Wisconsin and whether or not wake boats need to have special regulations because of environmental concerns, safety concerns.
Yeah.
And Kirk from Eau Claire texted in, listening on WCFW, yes, they do need to be regulated. I have been rocked by a wake boat going back and forth in a narrow channel. These are a look at us boat equipped with a thumping stereo system.
Yeah.
So they don't go out into the middle of the lake. They need to be somewhere where they can be seen. That sounds really obnoxious, Kirk.
I can't believe I didn't come up with this joke until right now, and I needed to hear Dan to laugh at it because it's very funny, but you get a guy like regulation coming in, they'd be like, hey, I'm here to wake boat, not to woke boat. Thank you. I'm here all
I could
weekend.
go on a shirt.
Come to the Laughing Tap. We're here all weekend.
I appreciate thank you, Kirk, for sending that in. And yeah, we'll see what happens with this and who's going to win out. I feel for the folks who are seeing their shorelines erode.
Yeah, that's not what they like.
That is not a good thing.
That is a definite problem.
It is a problem. Hey, coming up after 11 o'clock, be listening for Greg and I to give you the keyword.
Yeah, right.
It is our statewide Text to Win Scotty Summer Text to Win contest. After 11 o'clock, you will hear the keyword. You want to text that in via the Civic Media app only. And spelling is important, so make sure you get the keyword correct. You're going to be in the running for either $100 in cash or a pair of Milwaukee Brewers Club level tickets. And everyone who enters, whether you win or not, will be in the running for a grand prize, a nice little summer vacation, including gas to get there. Shannon in Baraboo was a winner. You could be too.
Nice.
I
can't be a winner.
You cannot. That's coming up after 11 o'clock, all next week as well, in the 7, 11, 2, and 4 p.m. hours. Calvin, it's getting late. 10:55. That means it's time for... If you have a thing you think should not be, send it in to Greg and me at janesays@civicmedia.us. This from the BBC. Matt Taylor, the lucky reporter with the byline. The headline reads... Scientists create world's smallest violin. Physicists at Loughborough University have created the world's smallest violin using nanotechnology.
Oh, man, like Iron Man.
They say work on the violin smaller than the width of a human hair.
Small.
Really, really, really little violin.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Smaller than the width of a human hair will help with research into a whole bunch of things, from improving computer efficiency to finding new ways to harvest energy. Professor Kelly Morrison, head of the university's physics department, says, quote, a lot of what we've learned in the process has actually laid the groundwork for the research we're now undertaking, unquote.
What's powering this satellite? 1 billion nanoviolins.
They're really fast.
Very tiny.
Really fast.
It's working on the tiny wind power of those strings.
The violin measures 35 microns long, 13 microns wide. A micron is 1/1,000,000th of a meter.
Why are you using such a tiny measurement against such a large, like...
A human hair ranges from 17 to 180 microns in diameter for comparison. This was created to test the capabilities of the university's new nanolithography system, which allows...
You nailed that in one shot.
Thank you, and I didn't even practice. Which allows researchers to build and study tiny structures. Nanolithography allows us to design experiments to probe materials in different ways, using light, magnetism, or electricity and observe their responses. Once we understand how the materials behave, we start applying that knowledge to develop new technologies.
So when you're sitting there listening to a buddy complain about something that shouldn't be complained about, you can simply say, I'm playing the world's smallest violin. And they'll be like, oh, funny. I'll be like, no, do you know how small it is? It's like less than the width of a hair. And he'll be like, what are you talking about? And he goes, I heard it on a radio show.
Just write it down. 13 microns long, 13 microns wide.
There you go.
Drop that at a cocktail party, huh?
You will be asked not to return.
That wraps up today's episode of... Coming up on Monday, Matt Randolph, Mr. Global will be here.
Senior Global is back?
Yes, Mr. Global will be back Monday after the 9:30 news. Also, State Representative Christian Phelps is going to be joining us, so I hope you can join us coming up on Monday. Busy week next week. Todd Alba will be with us. Also, I'm really excited about this. Brad Sturmer is a principal at a school in Wisconsin that has seen their math scores go up.
That's fantastic.
So I'm going to learn how to math.
It's about time.
Next week. Yes,
All right.
It probably is about time. Thank you, Greg and Calvin, and all of our engineers. Without you, nothing works. And thank you most of all for calling and for texting and for listening. It means the world. I hope you find some joy over the weekend and you have the chance to share it. We got news coming up next, so keep it right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.